Okay, so another factor that's going to influence climate and the distribution of life are large bodies of water. Large bodies of water certainly regulate climatic conditions, both temperature and precipitation values. So as a result, we have two different types of climate based on the proximity to water. The first type is what we would call a marine climate. These are climates close to a large body of water, adjacent to an ocean, or even, for example, a Great Lake. They tend to have cooler summers and warmer winters. This small temperature range is a function of water's high specific heat. If you guys recall, water molecules have weak hydrogen bonds, which get broken when heated. This absorbs much of the heat, allowing it to resist heating. Also, when the water cools, those bonds are reformed, and that releases heat. So what that means is water is super resistant to heat. Specific heat is defined as the amount of heat energy required to raise 1 pound of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit. The higher the specific heat, the more resistance there is to heating. If it's a poor absorber of that heat energy, it's also therefore going to be a poor radiator. So while water takes a long time to heat up, it's also going to take a long time to cool off. That means all summer long, when the sun is pounding down on the ocean itself, it resists that heat. So it stays cooler. The atmosphere above it remains relatively cool. Whatever heat it does gather, however, it's not going to let go of it very quickly. And therefore, the atmosphere in a marine climate during the winter will be slightly warmer. This is what creates a small temperature range for marine climates. They have a moderating effect. Compare that to a continental climate. This is a climate that's inland, far from a large body of water, and therefore the atmosphere is going to be quite dry. That dry atmosphere has a low specific heat, meaning it heats up really quick. It doesn't have a lot of resistance to heating. And whatever heat it gathers, it quickly lets go of. This results in really warm summers and much cooler winters. Even daily variations are dramatic. For those of you who've ever camped in a desert, I've camped in Joshua Tree National Park and it got up to 110 degrees in the summer, and I thought I'd sleep under the stars at night, but I woke up with an extreme chill as it got to freezing and below freezing temperatures. While it heats up really quick, it doesn't have that insulative effect. The lack of moisture can't retain and keep the heat in, and therefore it gets very cold at night. A really good example to study the effects of large bodies of water and their effects on climate is to look at two different cities in Alaska. Why this is interesting is because both of these cities share the same latitude, so they should share the same intensity of sunlight. Yet their climate throughout the year is very different. Notice Kodiak has a relatively small temperature range. It has actually warmer winters and cooler summers. Kodiak is right on the coast. Being on the coast means there's a lot of atmospheric moisture, and that's going to resist the heating during the summer, but it's also going to retain the heat during the winter, resulting in cooler summers and warmer winters. Fairbanks, which is where I lived for quite some time, has extreme temperature ranges. It's interior, it's the heart of Alaska. There's no large body of water next to it. Therefore, during the summertime, it heats up really quickly. The dry atmosphere has a low specific heat. And since it has a low specific heat, it has a low resistance to heating, but it also cools off very quickly. So in the winter, it gets unbelievably cold. It gets so cold that wherever you drive your car, if you went in to go get, for example, a loaf of bread at a grocery store, just about every single parking spot has an electrical input for your car. So your car, you have to plug it in so the battery doesn't freeze. It gets really cold. Being far from a body of water means you have extreme temperature ranges. So when we look at these climate graphs, we can really tell without even visiting which one's on a body of water and which one's continental. I hope that helps, and we'll see you guys soon.